Lucas Hayes thought he'd buried his past 7 years ago, the night he walked away from the only woman he ever loved to protect a family secret. Victoria Hale became a billionaire. He became a single father. They became strangers. But tonight, trapped in a snowbound mountain cabin with nowhere to run and only one bed between them, every lie they've lived is about to shatter. Some loves don't fade. They wait. And when the storm finally forces them together, the question isn't whether they still feel it. It's whether they're brave enough to survive it twice. If you want to see how far love can fall and still find its way back, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this story travels. The road disappeared 30 minutes ago. Lucas Hayes gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles bone-white against the cracked leather. Snow came down in sheets so thick his headlights barely penetrated 3 feet ahead. The windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm. Thunk, 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 thunk. But they were losing the fight. "Dad, I can't see anything." He glanced at the rearview mirror. His daughter Mia sat buckled in the back seat, her face pale in the dashboard's glow. She was 7 years old and trying hard not to look scared. That made one of them. "We're almost there, sweetheart." His voice came out steadier than he felt. "Just a few more minutes." A lie. He had no idea where they were. The GPS had cut out 20 miles back, right around the time his phone signal died. All he had now was a crumpled printout of directions his mother had texted him 3 days ago, and half of those landmarks were buried under 2 feet of fresh powder. Hayes family reunion, Greystone Cabin, mile marker 47. He'd argued against coming, told his mother a winter reunion in the mountains was a terrible idea, that the weather reports were predicting the worst storm in a decade, that he had work and Mia had school, and a dozen other excuses that all meant the same thing. I don't want to be there. But Margaret Hayes didn't take no for an answer. She never had. "Your father and I worked very hard to arrange this, Lucas. The whole family will be there. It's been years since we've all been together. You're coming." So here he was, driving blind through a blizzard with his daughter in the back seat, headed toward a weekend he'd been dreading for months. The car lurched suddenly, tires spinning on ice. Lucas's heart jumped into his throat. He eased off the gas, hands steady despite the adrenaline screaming through his veins. The vehicle fishtailed once, twice, then found traction again. "Dad, it's okay. We're okay." Another lie. The truth was they were 30 miles from the nearest town, on a road that probably wouldn't see a plow truck until morning, and the temperature was dropping fast. If they got stuck out here... He didn't finish the thought. A shape emerged through the snow, dark, solid. Lucas squinted, leaning forward. A building. No, a driveway. A carved wooden sign hung from a post, half buried in white. Greystone. Relief hit him like a physical thing. There it is. He turned onto the driveway, or what he hoped was the driveway. Hard to tell when everything looked the same. The car crawled forward, tires crunching over snow that had to be at least a foot deep. Trees pressed in on both sides, their branches heavy and sagging. A tunnel of white and shadow. Then the cabin appeared. It was bigger than he'd expected. 2 stories of dark timber and stone, windows glowing warm against the storm. Smoke curled from a chimney, barely visible in the swirling snow. 3 other vehicles were already parked out front, half buried and anonymous under thick white blankets. Lucas pulled in beside them and killed the engine. The sudden silence was overwhelming, just wind and the muffled hiss of snow hitting the windshield. "Mia, grab your backpack. Stay close to me." "Okay." He stepped out into the storm and immediately regretted it. The cold was a living thing, clawing at his face and stealing his breath. He yanked his hood up and hurried to the back door, pulling Mia out and tucking her against his side. Their duffel bag could wait until morning. They ran. The front door wasn't locked. Lucas shoved it open and they stumbled inside, snow spilling in with them. He kicked the door shut and stood there, breathing hard, ice melting in his hair and dripping down his neck. Warmth. The cabin was gloriously, impossibly warm. "Lucas!" He looked up. His mother stood at the end of the hallway, apron tied around her waist, flour on her hands. Margaret Hayes was 62 years old and looked exactly the same as she had when he was a kid. Small, sharp-eyed, unshakable. She rushed forward and pulled him into a hug before he could protest. "You made it. Thank goodness. We were starting to worry." "The roads are bad." He peeled off his wet jacket. Really bad. We barely... You're here now, that's what matters. She crouched down, smiling at Mia. And you must be freezing, sweetheart. Come on, let's get you warmed up. There's hot chocolate in the kitchen. Mia glanced at Lucas. He nodded. Go ahead. She followed Margaret down the hall, leaving him alone in the entryway. Lucas stood there for a moment, dripping onto the hardwood floor, and tried to steady himself. It had been 3 years since he'd seen his mother in person. Phone calls and video chats, sure, but this, standing in the same room, breathing the same air, felt strange, off balance. Voices drifted from somewhere deeper in the cabin. Laughter, the clink of glasses, his father's low rumble. He wasn't ready for this. But ready or not, he was here. Lucas took a breath and walked toward the sound. But, the main room was massive. Vaulted ceilings, exposed beams, a stone fireplace big enough to stand in. His father sat in an armchair near the fire, drink in hand, talking to a woman Lucas didn't recognize. She was maybe 50, elegant in that effortless way some people managed, dark hair pulled back in a loose knot. Richard Hayes spotted him and stood immediately. Lucas. Dad. They shook hands. His father's grip was firm, familiar. He looked older. More gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but still solid, still Richard Hayes. Glad you made it safely. Richard gestured to the woman. This is Eleanor Hale, an old friend. Eleanor, my son Lucas. Eleanor smiled. It's wonderful to finally meet you. Richard's told me so much. Lucas returned the smile automatically, but something cold settled in his chest. Hale. That name. He knew that name. And this is my daughter, Victoria. She stepped out from the hallway behind him. Lucas's entire world stopped. Monk. Victoria Hale stood 3 feet away, holding a wine glass, wearing jeans and a cream sweater that probably cost more than his car. Her hair was shorter than he remembered, just past her shoulders now, but everything else was exactly the same. The dark eyes that had always seen through him, the way she held herself, like she owned every room she walked into. She looked at him for precisely 2 seconds, her expression unreadable, then looked away. Victoria. Eleanor's voice had an edge Lucas didn't understand. Say hello. Hello. Victoria's tone was flat, professional, the voice she'd use with a stranger. Lucas felt something crack in his chest. Hi. That was it. One word. 7 years of silence, and all he could manage was hi. Richard was still talking. Eleanor and I went to college together, decades ago. Lost touch for years, but we reconnected recently. Turns out we've been living 2 hours apart all this time and never knew it. He laughed. Small world. Very small, Lucas said. His voice sounded far away. We thought it would be nice to spend the holidays together. Combine families. Richard smiled at Eleanor. She smiled back. Oh. Oh. Lucas understood now. The reunion, the cabin, his mother's insistence that he come. This wasn't just a family gathering. This was an introduction, a prelude. His parents were together with Victoria's mother. The floor tilted slightly beneath him. Lucas? Richard frowned. You all right? Yeah, fine, just long drive. He forced himself to focus. Where's everyone sleeping? Ah. Richard exchanged a glance with Eleanor. That's the one complication. The cabin's only got 4 bedrooms. Your mother and I are in the master. Eleanor's in the guest room downstairs. Mia's set up in the loft with some books and games. She seemed excited about having her own space. Okay? Lucas waited. Which leaves the upstairs bedroom for you and Victoria. The words hung in the air like smoke. There's only 1 bed, Eleanor added quickly, but it's a king, plenty of room. And honestly, with the storm, we didn't think... It's fine, Victoria cut her off. She still wasn't looking at Lucas. We're adults. We can handle sharing a room for 2 nights. No, they absolutely could not. But Lucas couldn't say that, couldn't explain why. Not without unraveling 7 years of carefully constructed lies. So he nodded. Sure. Not a problem. Victoria finally looked at him then. Just a glance, quick and sharp. He saw something flicker in her eyes. Anger, maybe. Or pain. Then it was gone. I'm going to check on dinner. Margaret appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Lucas, why don't you get settled? Your room's at the top of the stairs, second door on the right. Thanks, Mom. He walked away before anyone could say anything else. Spoke. The bedroom was nice, tastefully decorated in shades of gray and white, with a view of the mountains that would probably be stunning if it wasn't currently a wall of snow. A king bed dominated the space, covered in thick blankets and too many pillows. One bed. Lucas sat down on the edge and put his head in his hands. This was a nightmare. An actual waking nightmare. 7 years ago, he'd walked away from Victoria Hale because their parents were getting close. Because staying together would have hurt the two people they both loved most. It had been the hardest decision of his life. And the right one. At least that's what he'd told himself every day since. And now here they were, thrown back together by the exact relationship they'd sacrificed everything to protect. The irony was almost funny. Almost. The door opened. Lucas looked up. Victoria stepped inside and closed it behind her. She stood there, arms crossed, expression carefully neutral. "We should talk," she said. "Yeah." She crossed to the window, putting distance between them. "I didn't know you'd be here." "Same. My mother said it was a small family thing. She didn't mention—" Victoria stopped, started again. "I wouldn't have come if I'd known." That hurt more than it should have. "Right. This doesn't have to be complicated, Lucas. We stay out of each other's way. Be polite in front of them. 2 days and we never have to see each other again." "Sounds like a plan." She turned to face him. "I'm serious. So am I." They stared at each other. The silence stretched, thick and heavy with all the things neither of them were saying. Victoria broke first. "I'll take the left side of the bed. You take the right. We don't talk about the past. We don't—" Her voice caught. She covered it quickly. "We just get through this." "Okay. Okay." She walked past him toward the door, close enough that he caught her scent. Something light and expensive. Not the same perfume she'd worn before. That was good. If it had been the same. "Dinner's in an hour," Victoria said without looking back. "Try to look like you don't hate being here." Then she was gone. Lucas sat alone in the room and wondered how he was supposed to survive 2 days of this without losing his mind. Dinner was exactly as awkward as he'd feared. They sat around a long wooden table, Richard and Margaret at the head, Eleanor and Victoria on one side, Lucas and Mia on the other. The food was excellent. His mother had outdone herself with roasted chicken, garlic potatoes, glazed vegetables. But Lucas barely tasted any of it. "So, Victoria," Richard said, cutting into his chicken, "your mother tells me you're doing quite well for yourself." Victoria smiled politely. "I've been fortunate." "Fortunate?" Eleanor laughed. "Darling, you're the CEO of a billion-dollar tech company. That's not fortune, that's brilliance." "What's a CEO?" Mia asked. "It means she's the boss of a very big company," Lucas explained quietly. Mia's eyes went wide. "Like a superhero?" Victoria's expression softened slightly. "Not quite. More like someone who makes a lot of decisions and drinks too much coffee." "Oh." Mia considered this. "My dad drinks a lot of coffee too, but he's not a superhero. He fixes trucks." "Mia, I'm a diesel mechanic," Lucas said, "at a fleet maintenance company." "Honest work," Richard said approvingly. "Good, solid trade." Lucas heard the subtext. "Not like what you could have been." Margaret jumped in quickly. "And he's wonderful with Mia, a natural father." Victoria's hand tightened on her fork. "Speaking of which," Eleanor said, "where's Mia's mother, if you don't mind my asking?" The table went quiet. Lucas set down his knife. "She's not in the picture. It's just me and Mia." "Has been since she was born," Margaret added. "Lucas has done an incredible job raising her on his own." "I'm sure." Eleanor's smile was kind. "That can't have been easy." "We manage." Mia tugged his sleeve. "Can I be excused? I'm full." "Did you eat your vegetables?" She showed him her plate. Half the green beans were gone. Good enough. "All right, go play upstairs, quietly." "Okay." She scrambled down and ran off. The adults resumed eating. Richard and Eleanor fell into conversation about old college stories. Margaret asked about Eleanor's work, something in corporate law. Lucas focused on his food and tried not to look at Victoria. He failed. She sat perfectly straight, movements precise and controlled. Every inch the billionaire CEO, polished, professional, untouchable. Nothing like the girl he'd known. That Victoria had been fierce and funny and completely unfiltered. She'd laughed too loud and sworn too much, and had opinions about everything. She'd dragged him to protests and poetry readings and dive bars, made him try things he'd never have tried on his own. She'd been alive. This woman across the table was a stranger. Lucas? His mother's voice cut through his thoughts. I asked if you'd like more potatoes. No, thanks. I'm good. Margaret frowned. You've barely eaten. Just tired from the drive. You should get some rest then. It's been a long day for everyone. She stood, already gathering plates. Why don't you and Victoria head upstairs? Eleanor and I will clean up. I can help. Nonsense. You're a guest. Go. Relax. There was no arguing with Margaret Hayes in hostess mode. Lucas pushed back from the table. Victoria did the same. They walked upstairs in silence, side by side, but miles apart. The bedroom felt smaller with both of them in it. Victoria went straight to her suitcase, pulling out pajamas and toiletries. I'm taking a shower first. Fine. She disappeared into the attached bathroom. A moment later, he heard water running. Lucas sat on the edge of the bed and tried to think about anything other than Victoria Hale naked in his shower. He failed at that too. Mia poked her head in. Dad? Hey, kiddo, what's up? The lady downstairs, Victoria, is she nice? Why do you ask? She seems sad, out of the mouths of children. I think she's just tired, like us. Oh, Mia climbed onto the bed. Do you know her? Lucas's throat tightened. Sort of. A long time ago. Were you friends? We were everything. Yeah, he said quietly. We were friends. Cool, Mia yawned. I'm sleepy. Then get to bed. Brush your teeth first. Okay. She hugged him tight. Love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. She padded off to the loft. Lucas heard her footsteps overhead, then the sound of running water from her bathroom. The shower in his room shut off. Victoria emerged 10 minutes later in flannel pants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair damp and loose around her shoulders. She looked younger like this, more like the person he remembered. She caught him staring. What? Nothing. Bathroom's free? All yours. He grabbed his own stuff and escaped. By the time Lucas finished his shower, Victoria was already in bed. She'd built a wall of pillows down the center, a physical barrier that somehow made the whole situation worse. He climbed in on his side and turned off the lamp. Darkness. The sound of wind and snow against the windows. Their breathing, too loud in the quiet. Lucas, his heart stopped. Yeah? This doesn't change anything. I know. I mean it. This isn't... I know, Victoria. Silence. Then softer. I just needed you to know that. Okay? More silence. Lucas closed his eyes and prayed for sleep. It didn't come. He could feel her there, just inches away on the other side of the pillow wall. Could hear every shift of the blankets, every breath. 7 years. 7 years of distance, of silence, of pretending she didn't exist. And now here they were, back where they'd started. Except everything was different. He had Mia now, a life built on responsibility and routine. Victoria had her empire, her success, her carefully controlled world. They were strangers, but lying there in the dark, listening to her breathe, Lucas felt the same pull he'd always felt, the same magnetic force that had drawn them together in the first place. It terrified him. Are you asleep? Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. No, me neither. Pause. The storm's getting worse. Yeah. We might be stuck here longer than 2 days. Lucas opened his eyes, stared at the ceiling. Probably. Great. The word was hollow. Just great. He almost laughed. Almost. Could be worse. How? Good question. He didn't have an answer. They lay there, not sleeping, not talking, just existing in the same space, together but separate, connected by history and divided by choice. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, something else was building, something neither of them was ready to acknowledge. But it was there. And Lucas knew, with a certainty that made his chest ache, that 2 days in this cabin with Victoria Hale was going to break him. The only question was how many pieces he'd be in when it was over. Morning came slowly. Lucas woke to gray light filtering through the curtains and the smell of coffee drifting up from downstairs. Victoria's side of the bed was empty, blankets pushed back. He sat up, running a hand through his hair. His phone said 7:43 a.m. Early, but not unreasonably so. Downstairs, he found his mother and Eleanor in the kitchen, chatting over coffee and pancakes. No sign of Victoria or his father. "Morning," Margaret said brightly. "Sleep well?" "Fine." A lie, but a polite one. "Pancakes are on the stove. Help yourself. Your father and Richard went to check the generator. Power's been flickering. Victoria's out front, I think." Lucas poured coffee and took it to the window. She was there, standing in the snow, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the white landscape. She looked small against the storm, vulnerable. He grabbed his jacket and went outside. Shuts. The cold hit like a punch. Lucas zipped up and trudged through knee-deep snow to where Victoria stood. She didn't turn around. "Couldn't sleep?" "Not really. You?" "No." They stood side by side, not looking at each other. "I forgot how quiet it gets after a storm," Victoria said. "Everything muffled." "Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to love snow days. No school, just peace." Lucas remembered that. Remembered her showing up at his apartment in college, covered in snow, dragging him outside to build a snowman at 2 a.m. because she couldn't sleep and needed to do something. He didn't mention it. "Victoria, don't." She turned to face him. Her eyes were red. "Please don't." "Don't what?" "Whatever you were about to say. I can't." Her voice cracked. "I'm barely holding it together, Lucas, so please, just don't." He wanted to reach for her, wanted to pull her close and tell her it would be okay, but he had no right. So he nodded. "Okay." She walked past him, back toward the cabin. Lucas stayed outside, alone in the snow, and wondered when everything had gotten so broken. The cabin felt smaller by the hour. Lucas spent the rest of the morning doing anything that kept him away from Victoria. He helped his father clear snow from the porch. He played board games with Mia in the loft. He even volunteered to chop firewood, despite the fact that there was already a cord stacked against the side of the house. Anything to avoid being in the same room as her. But the cabin wasn't big enough for that kind of avoidance. Every time he turned a corner, there she was, reading on the couch, helping Eleanor in the kitchen, standing at the window with that faraway look that meant she was thinking about things she didn't want to share. By noon, the tension was thick enough to cut. "All right, everyone," Margaret announced, clapping her hands together. "I think we need some activity. All this sitting around is making us stir crazy." Richard looked up from his book. "What did you have in mind?" "Games, charades, maybe, or Pictionary?" Eleanor smiled. "I haven't played Pictionary in years." "Then it's settled." Margaret was already pulling boxes from a cabinet. "Teams of 2. Let's see. Richard and I, Eleanor and Mia, which leaves Lucas and Victoria." Lucas's stomach dropped. "Mom, I don't think—" "Oh, come on, it'll be fun." Victoria set down her coffee. Her expression was carefully blank. "I'm not really in the mood for games." "Neither am I," Lucas said quickly. Margaret's smile dimmed. "You two are being awfully difficult. It's just a game." "Let them be, Margaret," Eleanor said gently. "If they don't want to play, they're adults. They can handle one game together." Margaret's tone had shifted. Less cheerful hostess, more steel-spined mother. "Unless there's some reason you can't." The question hung there, sharp and pointed. Lucas felt his father's eyes on him. Eleanor's too. Everyone watching, waiting for an answer that wouldn't give away too much. "Fine," Victoria said. "One game." Lucas nodded. "Sure." They sat up at the dining table, whiteboard propped on a chair, markers ready, timer set. Richard and Margaret went first. They were terrible, arguing over whether a circle was supposed to be a wheel or a planet or the moon. Mia found this hilarious. Then Eleanor and Mia. They were better, but Mia's drawings looked like abstract art, which made guessing nearly impossible. "A horse," Eleanor guessed. "No, it's a car." "That's a car?" "Yeah, see the wheels?" More laughter. Then it was Lucas and Victoria's turn. Victoria drew first. She grabbed a card from the pile, glanced at it, then started sketching. Fast, confident lines. A building. Windows. A door. House, Lucas said immediately. She added a flag on top. Post office. She nodded and drew a new image. A person. A bag. Mailman. Another nod. A clock. Time. Mail time. Delivery. She circled the whole drawing. Mail delivery service. Ding. The timer went off. 6 points, Margaret cheered. Well done. Lucas picked up the marker. His card read, wedding. Of course it did. He drew a church. Stick figures. A dress. Wedding, Victoria said flatly. That was it. 30 seconds in, and they'd already won the round. Richard whistled. You two are good at this. We've played before, Victoria said, then seemed to regret it immediately. Margaret's eyes sharpened. When? College, Lucas said quickly. Same university. We knew some of the same people. Not a lie. Just not the whole truth. They played 3 more rounds. Each time, Lucas and Victoria won without effort. They didn't need to discuss strategy or debate meanings. They just knew. The same wavelength they'd always been on, still there after 7 years. It should have felt good. Instead, it felt like torture. After the 4th win, Victoria stood abruptly. I need some air. She grabbed her coat and walked out before anyone could respond. Lucas sat there, marker still in his hand, feeling like he'd just failed a test he didn't know he was taking. She's intense, Richard said mildly. Eleanor, you raised quite a firecracker. Eleanor smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Victoria's always been driven, single-minded when she wants something. Takes after her mother, then. Richard squeezed Eleanor's hand. Lucas looked away. Mia tugged his sleeve. Dad, can we make cookies? Sure, kiddo. Let's do that. Anything to escape this room. Jatan. The kitchen was a mess of flour and chocolate chips within 20 minutes. Mia stood on a stool, hands deep in cookie dough, grinning like this was the best day of her life. Margaret supervised, offering tips and stealing bits of dough when she thought no one was looking. Lucas leaned against the counter, watching his daughter laugh, and felt something loosen in his chest. This was good. Normal. The kind of moment that reminded him why he'd made the choices he'd made. She's wonderful, Margaret said softly, coming to stand beside him. You've done an amazing job with her. Thanks, Mom. I mean it, Lucas. I know it hasn't been easy, raising her alone, working full-time. You've sacrificed a lot. He didn't know what to say to that. Margaret studied him. Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What? Happy. Are you happy with your life? Lucas watched Mia press cookie cutters into dough. She makes me happy. That's not what I asked. He met his mother's eyes. She was watching him with that look, the one that said she saw through every wall he'd ever built. I'm fine, Mom. Fine isn't happy. It's enough. Margaret sighed. You're 32 years old, Lucas. You should be building a life, not just surviving one. I have a life. I have Mia. I have work. And what about you? What do you have for yourself? Nothing. The answer was nothing, and they both knew it. But before he could figure out how to respond, the back door opened and Victoria walked in, shaking snow from her hair. She stopped when she saw them. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. You're not, Margaret said warmly. We're making cookies. Join us. I should... Please, we'd love the help. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. Okay. She moved to the sink to wash her hands. Lucas stayed where he was, suddenly very aware of how small the kitchen was. Mia looked up. Do you like cookies? Victoria smiled. I do. What's your favorite kind? Chocolate chip? Classic. Me too, Mia beamed. We're making those right now. You can help. And just like that, Victoria was pulled into the chaos. Mia handed her a cookie cutter shaped like a star. Victoria took it, looking slightly bemused, and started cutting shapes from the dough. Lucas watched them work side by side, his daughter chattering away about school and friends and her favorite books. Victoria listening, asking questions, actually engaging. It was such a small thing, but it hit him like a freight train. This was what he'd given up, not just Victoria, but the possibility of this. Of someone else in Mia's life, someone who cared, Someone who fit. Margaret caught his eye and raised an eyebrow. He looked away. Dad, look! Mia held up a misshapen star. It's you! That's me? Yeah, see? It's all pointy. Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was startling, sharp and genuine, and so familiar it hurt. I think it's perfect, she said. Mia grinned. I'll make one for you too. What shape should you be? Victoria considered this seriously. A heart. Okay. Lucas excused himself. He couldn't watch this anymore. Couldn't stand there and pretend it didn't tear him apart. He went upstairs to the bedroom and closed the door. He heard her come in an hour later, soft footsteps, the quiet click of the door. Lucas was lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to think about nothing. Your daughter is very sweet, Victoria said. He didn't look at her. Thanks. She talks about you constantly. My dad this, my dad that. You're her whole world. She's mine too. Silence. Then the mattress shifted as Victoria sat on her side of the bed. Can I ask you something? Lucas's jaw tightened. Depends on the question. What happened? With her mother? He closed his eyes. You don't want to know. I do. Why? What difference does it make? I don't know, Victoria said quietly. But I need to understand. You were so careful, so responsible. How did you end up a single father? He sat up, anger flaring hot and sudden. Is that what you're asking? How did the guy who had his whole life planned out end up with an unplanned kid? Victoria flinched. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? No, I'm asking because... She stopped, started again. Because 7 years ago, you told me we couldn't be together, that we had to end things because our parents were getting close and it would be too complicated. You chose them over us. We both did. And then 6 months later, you had a baby with someone else. The accusation in her voice was clear. Lucas laughed bitterly. You want the truth? Fine. Her name was Amanda. We met at a bar. I was drunk and angry and trying to forget you. We hooked up once, and she got pregnant. Victoria's expression was unreadable. She didn't want to keep it, Lucas continued. Told me flat out she wasn't ready to be a mother, but she didn't want an abortion either. So we made a deal. She'd carry the baby to term, sign over custody, and walk away. I'd raise Mia alone and never ask her for anything. And you agreed to that. What choice did I have? She was pregnant. The baby was mine. I couldn't just... He broke off, shaking his head. I did what I had to do. You became a father. Yeah. And gave up everything else. Lucas met her eyes. Not everything. Just the things that didn't matter anymore. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Victoria looked away. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Don't be. Mia's the best thing that ever happened to me. I believe you. More silence. Thick and uncomfortable. What about you? Lucas asked. Billionaire CEO. That's a long way from art history major. Victoria's mouth twisted. Yeah, well, turns out I'm better at business than I am at passion. You loved art. I did. So what happened? She stood pacing to the window. After we ended things, I needed something to focus on. Something that didn't remind me of... She stopped. My mother had connections in tech. Got me an internship. I was good at it, really good. Strategy, negotiation, all the corporate stuff. I climbed fast. 5 years later, I was CFO. 2 years after that, CEO. That's impressive. It's empty. The words came out flat. I run a company worth billions. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and none of it matters. Lucas didn't know what to say to that. Victoria turned to face him. You asked if I'm happy. Earlier, your mom asked you the same thing. You didn't answer, so I'll ask again. Are you happy, Lucas? He thought about lying, about giving her the same non-answer he'd given his mother. But he was tired, so tired of pretending. No, he said. I'm not. Victoria's eyes glistened. Me neither. They stared at each other across the room. 7 years of silence, of distance, of carefully constructed lives that didn't fit right, all of it hanging there between them. We really screwed this up, didn't we? Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. Lucas nodded. Yeah, We did. She crossed back to the bed and sat down, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her, close enough to touch. But neither of them moved. I don't know how to do this, Victoria said. Be in the same room as you and pretend I don't... She stopped herself. Don't what? She shook her head. Nothing. Forget it. Victoria, I should go to sleep. It's late. It was barely 8 o'clock, but Lucas didn't argue. They got ready for bed in awkward silence, changed in the bathroom separately, built the pillow wall again, turned off the lights. Lucas lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and knew sleep wasn't coming anytime soon. Lucas? Yeah? Do you ever think about it, what we could have been? His chest tightened. Every day. He heard her breath catch, then softer. Me too. And that was it. No more words. Just the two of them, lying in the dark, mourning a future they'd killed before it had a chance to live. The next morning brought more snow and a new problem. Lucas woke to the sound of voices downstairs, loud voices, arguing. He pulled on jeans and a shirt and headed down to find his father and Eleanor in the main room, clearly in the middle of a disagreement. Can't just ignore it, Richard. I'm not ignoring anything. I'm saying we need to be realistic. Margaret stood off to the side, arms crossed, looking uncomfortable. Victoria was on the stairs behind Lucas, also watching. What's going on? Lucas asked. Richard turned. The generator's out. We're running on battery backup, but that won't last more than a few hours. Can't you fix it? The part we need isn't here, and with the roads like this, we're not getting it anytime soon. Eleanor threw up her hands. Which means we're trapped here with no heat, no power, and no way to cook. This is exactly what I was worried about. We have the fireplace, Margaret said calmly, and plenty of food. We'll manage. For how long? The forecast says this storm could last another 3 days. Lucas looked at Victoria. She met his eyes, and he saw his own concern reflected back. We should ration, Victoria said. Food, firewood, everything. Make it last as long as possible. Richard nodded. Good thinking. We'll need to stay in the main room as much as possible, too. Keep the heat concentrated. What about sleeping? Margaret asked. Same thing. We all sleep down here, near the fire. Lucas's stomach sank. Great. Now they'd have even less privacy. They spent the next hour rearranging furniture, pushing couches together, dragging mattresses downstairs, setting up a makeshift camp around the fireplace. It was cramped and chaotic, and nothing like the comfortable weekend his mother had planned. Mia thought it was an adventure. She helped gather blankets and pillows, chattering excitedly about camping indoors. By midday, they'd settled into a routine. Richard kept the fire going. Margaret and Eleanor organized meals, cold sandwiches, canned soup heated over the fire. Lucas played games with Mia. Victoria stayed on the periphery, reading a book, staying out of the way. But as the day wore on, the cold crept in. The fire could only do so much against a storm this fierce. Lucas watched Mia shiver and pulled her closer, wrapping a blanket around both of them. Dad, I'm cold. I know, sweetheart. Come here. She burrowed against him. He rubbed her arms, trying to warm her up. Across the room, Victoria watched them. Her expression was soft, almost sad. Night fell early, the sky outside a swirling mass of white and gray. They ate dinner huddled around the fire, soup and bread, simple but warm. Mia fell asleep halfway through, her head on Lucas's shoulder. He carried her to one of the makeshift beds and tucked her in. When he turned around, Victoria was standing there. She's lucky, Victoria said quietly, to have you. I'm the lucky one. You really believe that? Yeah, I do. Victoria nodded. Then maybe you did get something right after all. Before he could respond, she walked away. They slept in shifts that night. Someone had to keep the fire going, make sure it didn't die out. Richard took the first shift, Eleanor the second. Lucas volunteered for third. He sat by the fire at 2 a.m, feeding logs into the flames, watching shadows dance across the walls. Everyone else was asleep, or pretending to be. The cabin creaked and groaned under the weight of the storm. Can't sleep either? Lucas looked up. Victoria stood in the doorway, wrapped in a blanket. I'm on fire duty. Mind if I join you? It's a free country. She sat down beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. For a while, neither of them spoke, just watched the fire burn. "I've been thinking," Victoria said eventually, "about what you said, that you gave up the things that didn't matter." Lucas poked at the fire. "Yeah? Did you really believe that? Or were you just trying to convince yourself?" He didn't answer right away. The question was too big, too honest. "Both," he said finally. "When Mia was born, I had to believe it. Had to believe that being her father was enough, that I could build a life around her and be happy." "And were you happy?" "I was content. That's not the same thing, but it's close enough." Victoria pulled the blanket tighter. "I don't think I know the difference anymore." "Between happy and content?" "Yeah." Lucas looked at her. Really looked. In the firelight, she looked younger, less guarded, more like the girl he'd fallen in love with. "Happy is when you're exactly where you want to be," he said. "Content is when you've convinced yourself it's good enough." Victoria's eyes met his. "Which one are you?" "Right now? I don't know." She held his gaze. "Me neither." The moment stretched. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled. And then Victoria did something that shocked him. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Lucas froze. Every muscle in his body went rigid. "Is this okay?" she asked quietly. No. It wasn't okay, it was dangerous and stupid and completely wrong, but he didn't move away. "Yeah," he said. "It's okay." They sat like that for a long time. Not talking, not moving, just being. And for the first time in 7 years, Lucas felt something other than empty. Morning came with a new crisis. Margaret was sick. Fever, chills, coughing so hard it shook her whole body. Richard was beside himself, trying to make her comfortable, but they all knew the truth. Without power, without heat, stuck in a freezing cabin, this could get bad fast. "We need to get her to a hospital," Eleanor said. Richard shook his head. "The roads are impassable. We'd never make it." "Then we call for help." "Phone lines are down, cell service too." Lucas checked his phone. No signal. He tried the landline. Dead. "There has to be something we can do," Victoria said. Margaret coughed again, the sound wet and painful. "I'm fine. Just a cold." "You're not fine, Mom." "I've had worse." But she hadn't. Lucas could see it in his father's face. Margaret Hayes was tough, but she was also 62 years old, and this storm was brutal. "We keep her warm," Richard said firmly. "Keep her hydrated, ride it out." It was the only option they had. They rearranged again, gave Margaret the warmest spot by the fire, piled blankets on top of her. Eleanor made tea. Mia brought her favorite stuffed bear. "Here, Mrs. Hayes, he's very warm." Margaret smiled weakly. "Thank you, sweetheart." Lucas watched his mother shiver under 3 layers of blankets and felt helpless. This was supposed to be a simple family reunion, a chance to reconnect. Instead, it had turned into a survival situation. He caught Victoria's eye across the room. She looked as worried as he felt. The day dragged on. Margaret slept fitfully. Richard refused to leave her side. Eleanor kept busy in the kitchen, making broth, boiling water. Mia stayed quiet, sensing the tension. By evening, the fever was worse. Lucas pulled his father aside. "Dad, we need to talk." "Not now, Lucas." "Yes, now. She needs a doctor." "I know that," Richard snapped. Then softer. "I know. But what do you want me to do? We're stuck here. There has to be a way." "There isn't." His father's voice cracked. "We're trapped, and all I can do is sit here and watch her suffer." Lucas had never seen his father like this. Richard Hayes was a rock, steady, unshakable, but right now he looked lost. "She'll be okay," Lucas said, not sure if he believed it. "You don't know that. She's tough. She'll fight through this." Richard nodded, but his eyes were wet. "I can't lose her, Lucas. I just found her again." The words didn't make sense. "What?" His father looked at him. "Your mother and I, we've been having problems for years. We almost divorced." Lucas felt the ground tilt. "What?" "We kept it quiet. Didn't want to worry you, but things were bad. Really bad." Richard glanced back at Margaret. "Eleanor helped us find our way back to each other. She's a therapist. We've been in counseling. I didn't know. We didn't want you to. Lucas didn't know what to say. His parents, the foundation of his entire world, had been falling apart, and he'd never noticed. Is that why you wanted me here? Lucas asked. The reunion. All of this. Were you trying to fix things? Yes. Richard ran a hand over his face. I wanted us all together. Wanted to show your mother we could still be a family. And now she's sick. And now she's sick, Richard echoed. They stood there, father and son, both feeling equally useless. Victoria appeared in the doorway. Lucas, can I talk to you? He followed her into the kitchen. She closed the door behind them. How bad is it? She asked. Bad. My dad just told me they almost got divorced. He's terrified he's going to lose her now. Victoria's face softened. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. She hesitated. My mother told me something similar about her and your father. Lucas looked up sharply. What? They've been seeing each other for months. It's serious. The pieces clicked into place. The weekend together, the comfortable familiarity between Richard and Eleanor, the way they looked at each other. They're together, Lucas said slowly. Actually, together? It looks that way. He laughed, came out bitter. So we destroyed our relationship for nothing. They're together anyway. Lucas, we gave up everything. 7 years, Victoria. 7 years of staying away from each other, convincing ourselves it was the right thing to do. And the whole time, they were heading here anyway. Victoria's eyes shimmered. I know. Do you? Because I don't think I really understood until right now. We sacrificed us to protect them. And it didn't matter. None of it mattered. It mattered to us, Victoria said quietly. At the time, we thought we were doing the right thing. Were we? She didn't answer. Lucas leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. My mom might be really sick, my dad's falling apart, and we're stuck in this cabin with nowhere to go and nothing we can do about any of it. Victoria moved closer. So we do what we can. We keep her warm. We keep everyone calm. We survive. Is that what we're good at? Surviving? It's all I know how to do anymore. He looked at her then, really looked, and saw the truth written all over her face. She was just as lost as he was. Without thinking, Lucas reached out and took her hand. She stiffened, then relaxed. Her fingers curled around his. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. They stood there in the kitchen, holding hands in the dark, and for a moment the past 7 years didn't exist. They were just Lucas and Victoria again. Two people who'd loved each other and lost each other, and somehow found themselves back in the same place. But the moment couldn't last. The door opened. Eleanor stepped in, stopping short when she saw them. Lucas dropped Victoria's hand. Is my mom okay? Her fever's down a little. Richard wanted me to tell you. Eleanor's eyes flicked between them. Everything all right here? Fine, Victoria said quickly. We were just talking. Eleanor didn't look convinced, but she nodded. All right, well, we should all try to get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be another long day. She left. Lucas and Victoria stood there, suddenly awkward. We should go back, Victoria said. Yeah, but neither of them moved. Lucas, about what you said, about giving up everything. Forget it. I was just frustrated. No, you were right. Victoria's voice was steady now. We did give up everything. And maybe it was for nothing, but that doesn't mean it wasn't real. What we had, what we felt, that was real. I know. Do you? Because sometimes I wonder if you've convinced yourself it wasn't, that it was just some college relationship that didn't mean anything. Lucas met her eyes. It meant everything. Victoria's breath caught. Then why does it feel like we're strangers? Because that's what we chose to be. I didn't choose this, she said fiercely. I chose to walk away because I thought it was right, but I never chose to stop loving you. The words hung in the air between them. Lucas felt something crack wide open in his chest. 7 years of walls, of distance, of pretending, all of it crumbling in an instant. Victoria, don't say anything. She was crying now. I shouldn't have said that. Forget I did. She turned to leave. Lucas grabbed her wrist. Wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. I never stopped either, he said quietly. Not once. Not ever. Victoria turned slowly. Her face was wet with tears, but she was smiling. We're idiots, aren't we? Complete idiots. She laughed through her tears. It was the saddest, most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. And then, before either of them could think better of it, Lucas pulled her close and kissed her. It was desperate and messy, and 7 years too late. But it was real. More real than anything he'd felt in longer than he could remember. Victoria kissed him back like she was drowning, and he was air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lucas rested his forehead against hers. What are we doing? He whispered. I don't know. This is a terrible idea. The worst. We can't. I know. But neither of them let go. They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other, and for the first time in 7 years, Lucas let himself feel everything he'd been pushing down. The love, the loss, the longing, all of it. And it hurt. But it also felt like coming home. They broke apart when they heard footsteps in the hallway. Victoria stepped back quickly, wiping her eyes. Lucas turned toward the sink, gripping the edge hard enough to hurt. We can't do this again, Victoria said, her voice shaking. I know. I mean it, Lucas. We can't. This isn't. I know, he repeated, but the words felt hollow. The footsteps passed by. Probably Eleanor checking on Margaret again. Victoria moved toward the door. We should get back before someone notices we're both gone. Victoria, wait. She stopped, hand on the doorknob, but didn't turn around. What happens now? Lucas asked. Nothing. Nothing happens. We go back out there, we take care of your mother, we get through this storm, and then we go back to our lives. Just like that? Just like that. She finally looked at him. Her eyes were red but dry now. What else is there? Everything, Lucas wanted to say. There's everything we never had, everything we threw away, everything we could still be, but he didn't say any of it. You're right, he said instead. Nothing changes. Victoria nodded once, then left. Lucas stood alone in the kitchen and tried to convince himself that Kiss hadn't just blown his entire world apart. He failed. When he returned to the main room, Margaret was awake. Still pale, still coughing, but her eyes were clearer. Richard sat beside her, holding her hand like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. Hey, Mom, Lucas said quietly. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck. She managed a weak smile. But I've had worse hangovers. That's not funny. Little bit funny. Richard squeezed her hand. Don't joke, you scared me. I'm okay, Richard. Really? She looked at Lucas. Where's Mia? Sleeping in the loft with Eleanor. Good. She shouldn't see me like this. She's worried about you. I know. Margaret coughed again, wincing. But kids don't need to carry adult problems. Let her think it's just a cold. Lucas sat down on the floor beside them. The fire crackled, throwing shadows across the walls. Outside, the storm showed no signs of letting up. Dad told me, Lucas said, about you two, the problems you've been having. Margaret looked at Richard. He nodded. I'm sorry we kept it from you, she said, but we didn't want to burden you with our mess. You're my parents. Your mess is kind of my business. You have enough on your plate with Mia. We didn't want to add to it. Lucas shook his head. I'm not a kid anymore, Mom. You don't have to protect me from the truth. Margaret studied him. No, I suppose you're not. She glanced toward the kitchen, then back at him. What about you, Lucas? Are you carrying any truths you'd like to share? His stomach clenched. What do you mean? You and Victoria. There's history there. It wasn't a question. Lucas felt his father's eyes on him. Tried to think of a lie that would hold. Couldn't find one. We dated, he said finally. In college. For about a year. Margaret didn't look surprised. I thought so. The way you two avoid each other, that's not strangers. That's people who know each other too well. It was a long time ago. Not long enough, apparently. Richard shifted. Why didn't you tell us? Because it didn't matter. We broke up. We moved on. End of story. Except it's not, Margaret said. Is it? Lucas met his mother's eyes. She was sick and exhausted, but she still saw right through him. No, he admitted. It's not. Richard leaned forward. What happened? Why did you end it? And there it was. The question Lucas had been dreading for 7 years. He could lie, could make up some story about growing apart, wanting different things, the usual reasons relationships ended. They'd probably believe it, but he was so tired of lying.
You and Eleanor, Lucas said quietly. We found out you were getting close, talking about maybe seeing each other. And we knew if we stayed together, it would complicate everything, make things weird. So we decided to end it before it became a problem. The silence that followed was deafening. Margaret closed her eyes. Oh, Lucas. We thought we were doing the right thing.
You sacrificed your relationship for us? Richard's voice was tight. For something that we weren't even together then. We were just friends. We didn't know that. And by the time we would have known, it was too late. The damage was done. Margaret was crying now, tears sliding down her pale cheeks. You should have told us. We would have... What? Given up your friendship? Your chance at happiness? No. Lucas shook his head. We made our choice. We live with it. That's not fair, Richard said roughly. You don't get to sacrifice yourself for other people and then pretend it doesn't cost you anything. I'm not pretending. Aren't you? You're 32 years old, Lucas. You should be building a life, finding someone, not just existing. I have Mia. That's enough. No, it's not. Margaret reached for his hand. A child isn't a substitute for a partner, for love. She deserves a father who's whole, not one who's just going through the motions. Lucas pulled his hand back. I'm fine. You're not. And neither is Victoria, from the looks of it. Margaret coughed again, harder this time. When she caught her breath, she looked at him with an expression that was equal parts sad and frustrated. You still love her. It wasn't a question, but Lucas answered anyway. Yeah, I do. Richard stood abruptly. Then what the hell are you doing out here talking to us? Go tell her. Dad? Don't dad me. You think I don't see it? The way you look at her when you think no one's watching? The way she looks at you? You're both miserable. It's complicated. Everything's complicated. That's life. But you don't get to use complicated as an excuse to give up. Lucas stared at his father. Richard Hayes, who never raised his voice, who kept his emotions locked down tight, was standing there practically shaking with frustration. I have Mia, Lucas said again, like that explained everything. So what? You think having a child means you're not allowed to be happy? I think it means I have to be careful. I can't just bring someone into her life because I want to. I have to think about what's best for her. And what makes you think Victoria isn't what's best? Margaret asked softly. Lucas didn't have an answer for that. Before anyone could say more, Eleanor came down the stairs. She took one look at the scene, Margaret crying, Richard standing stiff and angry, Lucas sitting on the floor looking gutted, and stopped short. What's going on? Family conversation, Richard said. Nothing to worry about. It doesn't look like nothing. Margaret wiped her eyes. We're fine, Eleanor, really. Just clearing the air. Eleanor didn't look convinced, but she nodded. All right. Well, Victoria's asking for you, Lucas. She's upstairs with Mia. Said something about the girl having a nightmare. Lucas stood immediately. I'll go check on her. He took the stairs 2 at a time, grateful for the escape. Mia was sitting on the loft bed, tear-stained and hiccuping. Victoria sat beside her, one arm around the girl's shoulders, murmuring something Lucas couldn't hear. Hey, sweetheart. Lucas crossed to them quickly. What's wrong? Mia launched herself at him. He caught her, holding tight. I had a bad dream, she sobbed. You were gone and I was alone and it was so cold. Shh, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. He held her until the crying slowed to sniffles. Victoria watched them, her expression unreadable. Thank you, Lucas said to her, for staying with her. Of course, Victoria stood. I should go. Let you two... Don't make... Mia reached for her. Please don't go. Victoria hesitated. Mia, your dad's here now. You don't need me, but I like you. Mia's voice was small. You're nice, and you smell good, and you don't treat me like a baby. Victoria's expression softened. She sat back down. Okay, I'll stay for a little bit. Mia settled between them, one hand holding Lucas's, the other holding Victoria's. Within minutes, she was asleep again. Lucas and Victoria sat on either side of her, not looking at each other. She's right, Victoria said quietly. You do smell good. Lucas almost laughed. That's what you got from that? I'm trying to lighten the mood. It's not working, Victoria sighed. I know. They sat in silence. Mia's breathing evened out, deep and steady. The storm continued its assault outside. My parents know, Lucas said finally. About us. Victoria's head snapped toward him. What? I told them. They asked, and I couldn't lie anymore. What did you say? The truth. That we dated, that we broke up because of them. Victoria closed her eyes. How did they take it? About as well as you'd expect. My mom cried. My dad got angry, told me I was an idiot for giving you up. He's not wrong. No, he's not. Victoria looked at Mia, sleeping peacefully between them. She's amazing, you know, your daughter. She's smart and funny and kind. You did good. Thanks. But she's not why you can't move on. You know that, right? Lucas stiffened. What are you talking about? You use her as an excuse, as a reason to keep everyone at arm's length. But the truth is you're scared, not of bringing someone into her life, of letting someone into yours. That's not... It is, Victoria said firmly. I know because I do the same thing. I tell myself I'm too busy, too focused on work, too dedicated to my career. But the real reason I'm alone is because I'm terrified. Terrified of feeling what I felt with you and losing it again. Lucas couldn't argue, because she was right. So what do we do? He asked. I don't know. That's not helpful. I don't have helpful right now. All I have is honest. Mia shifted in her sleep, moving closer to Victoria. Victoria froze, then carefully put her arm around the girl. The gesture was so natural, so right, that it made Lucas's chest ache. She likes you, he said. I like her too. If things were different, they're not. But if they were, Lucas, don't. Victoria's voice cracked. Please don't do this. Don't make me imagine something we can't have. Why can't we have it? Because. She pulled away slightly, careful not to wake Mia. Because 7 years is a long time. People change. We're not the same people we were. So what? We get to know the new versions. It doesn't work like that. Why not? Victoria stood abruptly. Because I can't go through losing you again. Once almost destroyed me. Twice would finish the job. She walked toward the stairs. Where are you going? Lucas asked. Anywhere that's not here. Victoria, but she was already gone. Lucas sat there with his sleeping daughter and wondered when everything had gotten so broken that he didn't even know how to start fixing it. The next morning brought unexpected news. Richard managed to get a weak cell signal near the front window, just enough to make one call. He reached a plow service that promised to try to clear the main road by evening. So we might be able to leave tomorrow, Eleanor said, relief clear in her voice. Margaret, propped up on the couch with blankets and tea, nodded weakly. That's good. I need proper medicine and a real bed. You'll have both soon, Richard promised. Lucas caught Victoria's eye across the room. She looked away quickly. The day passed in a strange limbo. Everyone knew they'd be leaving soon, but no one seemed to know how to act about it. Conversations were stilted. Silences stretched too long. Even Mia was subdued, picking up on the tension. Dad, are you mad at Victoria? She asked while they were cleaning up after lunch. What? No, why would you think that? Because you won't look at her, and she won't look at you. That's what happens when people are mad. Lucas scrubbed a plate harder than necessary. We're not mad, sweetheart, just tired. Oh. Mia didn't sound convinced. I hope you're not mad, because I think she's sad. And when people are sad, they need friends. She has friends. Not here she doesn't. Here she just has us. Lucas looked at his daughter, 7 years old and already wiser than he'd ever be. You're right, he said. She does need a friend. Then you should be one. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I kissed her in the kitchen and now everything's a mess, Lucas thought. But he couldn't say that. Grown-up stuff, he said instead. Mia rolled her eyes. Grown-ups make everything complicated. Yeah, we really do. That afternoon, while Mia was napping and the others were occupied, Lucas found himself alone with Eleanor. She was organizing supplies in the kitchen, methodically sorting through what remained of their food. We'll have just enough if we're careful, she said, more to herself than to him. Lucas grabbed a box from the top shelf for her. Here. Thank you. She set it down, then turned to face him. Can I ask you something, Lucas? Sure.
Do you blame me for Richard and Margaret's problems?
The question caught him off guard. What? No. Why would I? Eleanor leaned against the counter. Because I'm the one who came into their lives, the therapist who was supposed to help them fix their marriage. And instead, she gestured vaguely. Instead, I complicated everything. That's not how I see it. How do you see it? How? Lucas thought about it. I see two people who were struggling and found someone who helped them, separately and together. That's not a bad thing. Even if it hurts other people in the process. She was talking about Victoria and him. We hurt ourselves, Lucas said quietly. You didn't make us break up. We chose that. Eleanor studied him. Victoria told me about what you two gave up. Did she? She's furious with me, you know. Has been for months. Ever since I told her about Richard and me becoming serious, she thinks I betrayed her somehow. Did you? I don't know. Eleanor's voice was soft. I didn't mean to, but intentions don't always matter, do they? The damage is the same either way. Lucas didn't know what to say to that. She still loves you, Eleanor said, in case you were wondering. She told me. And I still love her too, for all the good it does either of us. Eleanor was quiet for a moment, then, my husband left me when Victoria was 5. Said he didn't sign up for a family, that he wasn't ready, all the usual excuses men make when they're scared. I raised her alone, worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, and I was so determined to be strong, to show her she didn't need anyone else, that I think I accidentally taught her that needing people is weakness. That's not your fault, isn't it? She's brilliant and successful and utterly alone, and I wonder sometimes if that's my legacy. If I raised her to be so independent that she can't let anyone in. Lucas thought about his own daughter, about the lessons he was teaching her, intentionally or not. I'm doing the same thing with Mia, he admitted, teaching her that love is something you sacrifice, that you put everyone else first, even when it destroys you. Then maybe we're both doing it wrong, Eleanor said. Yeah, maybe we are. They stood there, 2 people who'd made different mistakes that led to the same result. Broken children who didn't know how to be whole. For what it's worth, Eleanor said, I think you two should try again. It's been 7 years. So, time doesn't erase feelings, it just buries them. But they're still there, still real. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? Lucas shook his head. John, I can't risk it, not with Mia in the picture. I can't bring someone into her life and then have it fall apart. That's not fair to her. And it's fair to raise her watching you be miserable? I'm not miserable. Eleanor gave him a look that said she didn't believe that for a second. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for, she said. They see things, feel things, and what Mia's learning right now is that her father is capable of love, but chooses to deny himself. What do you think that teaches her about her own worth, about what she deserves? The words hit like a physical blow. I'm not saying it to hurt you. I'm saying it because someone needs to. Eleanor's voice was gentle but firm. You're a good father, Lucas. But being a good father doesn't mean sacrificing your entire life on the altar of parenthood. It means showing your child what a full, healthy, happy life looks like. So she knows that's possible for her too. Lucas wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, his choices, his carefully constructed life. But he couldn't, because deep down, he knew she was right. That evening, the plow finally came through. They heard it before they saw it. The grinding roar of the engine, the scrape of metal on pavement. Everyone rushed to the windows. The road wasn't perfect, but it was passable. We can leave in the morning, Richard announced. Get Margaret to a proper doctor. Relief swept through the room. Except Lucas didn't feel relieved. He felt panicked, because in the morning, Victoria would leave, and he'd never see her again. The realization hit him like a truck. 7 years ago, he'd let her go because he thought it was right, noble, selfless. But there was nothing noble about cowardice. And that's what it was, he realized now, pure cowardice. He'd been too scared to fight for her, too scared to risk the disapproval of their parents, the complication of their families merging, the possibility of failure. So he'd chosen the safe option. the easy option, and he'd been paying for it ever since. That night, while everyone else was packing, Lucas found Victoria on the porch. She was bundled in her coat, staring out at the snow-covered landscape. The storm had finally stopped. Stars were visible now, bright and clear. "It's beautiful," she said without turning around. "Yeah. I forgot how quiet it gets after." "Victoria, I'm leaving early," she said abruptly, "before everyone else. My mother's staying to help with Margaret, but I need to get back. Work stuff." It was a lie, and they both knew it. "Don't," Lucas said. "Don't what?" "Run, not again." She turned to face him. "I'm not running. I'm being practical. There's nothing for me here." "Yes, there is." "Lucas, I love you." The words came out rough, desperate. "I never stopped, not for one single day in 7 years, and I know I don't have the right to say it. I know I have no claim on you, but I'm saying it anyway because if you walk away tomorrow and I never get to tell you, I won't survive that regret." Victoria stared at him. Her eyes were wet, but her expression was hard. "You don't get to do this," she said. "You don't get to stand there and tell me you love me when you're not willing to do anything about it." "What do you want me to do?" "Fight," her voice broke. "Fight for this, for us. Stop hiding behind excuses and just fight." "I am fighting." "No, you're not. You're standing here making declarations. But what happens tomorrow? You go back to your life. I go back to mine. And we pretend this never happened. Again." "It doesn't have to be like that." "Then what?" "What are you offering me, Lucas? A long-distance relationship? Weekend visits? What happens when Mia asks who I am? What do you tell her?" "The truth." "Which is?" Lucas took a breath. "That you're the woman I love, that I was an idiot to let you go, and that I'm asking, begging for another chance." Victoria's composure cracked. Tears spilled over. "You can't just say that and expect everything to be okay." "I know. 7 years, Lucas. 7 years of silence, of building walls, of convincing myself I was better off without you. And now you stand here and tear it all down with 3 words? I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Then tell me what does. Tell me what you need, and I'll do it." Victoria laughed bitterly. "What I need is for you to have said this 7 years ago, before I built a whole life without you, before I learned how to be alone, before I convinced myself that this feeling would eventually fade." "Did it? Fade?" She met his eyes. "No, not even a little." "Then we have a chance." "Do we?" "Because I don't see how this works. I live in San Francisco, you're in Denver. I run a company that demands 80 hours a week. You have a daughter who needs stability. Where exactly do we fit in each other's lives?" Lucas didn't have an answer. Because she was right. Logically, rationally, this was impossible. But love had never been logical. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I know I can't let you leave without trying. Even if it's messy, even if it's hard, even if we fail, I have to try." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You're asking me to risk everything. My carefully built life, my defenses, my sanity, for something that might not even work." "Yes." "That's insane." "Probably." She shook her head, but she was smiling through her tears. "You're an idiot, Lucas Hayes." "I know. And I'm an even bigger idiot, because I'm actually considering this." Lucas's heart jumped. "You are?" "I shouldn't. Every logical part of my brain is screaming at me to walk away, to protect myself, to not make the same mistake twice." "But," Victoria stepped closer, "but I'm so tired of being logical, of being safe, of being alone." "Victoria, I'm not promising anything. I can't. This is too big, too complicated. But I'm willing to try, if you are." "Yes." The word came out immediately. "Yes, absolutely yes." "Even knowing it might not work?" "Even knowing." She reached up and touched his face. Her hand was cold against his skin. "Then kiss me," she whispered. "Like you mean it this time." Lucas did, and unlike the desperate stolen kiss in the kitchen, this one was a promise. They pulled apart when they heard the front door open. Richard's voice carried across the porch. "Lucas? You out here?" Victoria stepped back quickly, wiping her eyes. Lucas steadied himself against the railing. "Yeah, Dad. Just getting some air." Richard appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene with a knowing look. Your mother wants to talk to both of you, inside. There was no judgment in his voice, just a quiet understanding that made Lucas's chest tight. They followed him in. Margaret was sitting up on the couch, looking better than she had in days. Eleanor sat beside her. Mia was upstairs, her laughter drifting down from the loft where she was playing. Sit down, Margaret said, not unkindly, but firmly. Lucas and Victoria sat, on opposite sides of the coffee table because old habits died hard. We know, Margaret said simply, about you two, about what you gave up. Victoria's face went pale. Mrs. Hayes, about how you ended things because of us, Margaret continued. About how you've both been miserable for 7 years. About how you still love each other. Lucas felt his father's hand on his shoulder, a steadying presence. And we need you to understand something, Margaret said. Her voice was gentle but absolute. What you did, sacrificing your relationship for our sake, was the most selfless, misguided, heartbreaking thing I've ever heard. Mom, hush. I'm not finished. She coughed, took a sip of tea. Richard and I were going through a rough patch, that's true. And Eleanor helped us find our way back to each other. Also true. But you two breaking up didn't protect us from anything. It just meant you both suffered for no reason. Eleanor nodded. I didn't even meet Richard in any romantic capacity until 2 years after you ended things. We were just friends for a long time before it became something more. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. We didn't know that. Of course you didn't, because you were kids trying to do the right thing without having all the information. Margaret leaned forward. But you're not kids anymore. And you have all the information now. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Lucas looked at Victoria. She looked back. We're going to try, he said. Try what? Richard asked. Us again. Lucas kept his eyes on Victoria. Whatever that looks like, however it works, we're going to try. Margaret smiled. Good. It's about damn time. Eleanor's expression was more complicated. Relief mixed with something that looked like worry. Victoria, honey, are you sure? No, Victoria admitted. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it anyway. What about the logistics? Your life is in San Francisco. Lucas is here. How does that... We'll figure it out, Victoria said, more firmly this time. People make long-distance work all the time. And Mia? Eleanor pressed. Have you thought about how this affects her? Lucas stiffened. She's my priority. Always. But that doesn't mean I can't... I'm not questioning your priorities. I'm asking if you've thought it through. What happens when this gets serious? When Victoria wants to be part of Mia's life? Are you ready for that? Mom, Victoria said sharply. Stop. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to make sure you're both going into this with your eyes open. Relationships are hard enough without adding distance and a child and 7 years of baggage into the mix. We know it's hard, Lucas said, but it's worth it. She's worth it. Victoria's eyes glistened. Margaret reached over and took Eleanor's hand. Let them figure it out, Eleanor. They're adults. They don't need our permission or our approval. I know. Eleanor looked at her daughter. I don't want to see you hurt again. I'm already hurt, Victoria said quietly. I've been hurt for 7 years. At least this way, there's a chance for something better. Eleanor nodded slowly. All right, I'll trust you. The tension in the room eased slightly. Richard squeezed Lucas's shoulder once, then let go. So what's the plan? He asked. Lucas and Victoria looked at each other. They hadn't gotten that far. I need to go back to San Francisco tomorrow, Victoria said. I have board meetings, contracts to sign. I can't just disappear. And I need to get Mia home. Back to school, back to routine. So we start with calls, Victoria said. Video chats, we talk every day, build from there. And visits, Lucas added. I can bring Mia to San Francisco, or you can come to Denver. How often? As often as we can manage. It sounded impossible, but so had getting through the last 7 years and they'd managed that. What about telling Mia? Margaret asked. When do you introduce Victoria as someone who's going to be in her life? Lucas hadn't thought about that. I don't know, not right away. We need to make sure this is real first. Make sure it's stable. Victoria nodded. I agree. We don't tell her anything until we're certain this is going to work.
And if it doesn't? Eleanor asked. Then we deal with it, Victoria said. But I'd rather try and fail than never try at all. Margaret smiled. I raised a smart boy. Looks like Eleanor raised a smart girl too. The conversation shifted after that. Logistics, plans, the drive home tomorrow. Margaret was feeling well enough to travel if they took it slow. Richard had already called ahead to their family doctor. Everything was falling into place.
But Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something massive. One step forward and everything would change, for better or worse. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, Lucas found himself wide awake. Victoria was beside him, the pillow wall long since abandoned. She was turned toward him, eyes open. "Can't sleep?" she whispered. "Too much in my head." Same. They lay there in the darkness, close but not touching. "Are we insane?" Victoria asked. "For doing this?" "Probably." "What if it doesn't work?" "What if it does?" She smiled faintly. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true. We could spend all our time worrying about failure, or we could just see what happens. I'm not good at just seeing what happens. I'm a planner. I need structure, strategy, clear objectives." "How's that working out for you?" Victoria laughed softly. "Touché." Lucas reached out, taking her hand. She laced her fingers through his. "Tell me something," she said. "Something I don't know, something from the last 7 years." He thought about it. When Mia was 6 months old, she got sick, really sick. Fever of 104, couldn't keep anything down. I was terrified. Took her to the ER at 2 in the morning. What happened? Turned out to be a bad virus. They gave her fluids, watched her for a few hours, sent us home. But sitting there in that hospital room, holding her while she cried, I realized I'd never been that scared in my life. He paused. And the only person I wanted to call was you. Victoria's grip on his hand tightened. But I couldn't, Lucas continued, because we weren't in each other's lives anymore. So I sat there alone and dealt with it. And I've been dealing with everything alone ever since. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not telling you to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because I don't want to do that anymore. Deal with things alone. Neither do I, Victoria whispered. They were quiet for a moment. Then Victoria said, I almost called you 3 years ago. I was at this tech conference in New York, and I saw someone who looked like you from behind. Same hair, same build. For a second, I was so sure it was you that I actually started walking over. What happened? He turned around, and it wasn't you. Just some stranger. But I stood there in the middle of this crowded hotel lobby and cried. Because I missed you so much, I'd convinced myself a random man was you. Lucas pulled her closer. She came willingly, tucking her head under his chin. We've wasted so much time, she said. Then let's not waste any more. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, holding on tight, like they were afraid the other might disappear. Morning came too fast. Lucas woke to pale sunlight streaming through the windows and the sound of people moving around downstairs. Victoria was already up, packing her things. Hey, he said groggily. Hey. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I should get on the road soon, beat the traffic. Lucas sat up. You're really leaving before everyone else? I have to. I've already pushed back 2 meetings. If I don't get back today, my board is going to lose their minds. He wanted to argue, to ask her to stay just a few more hours, but he knew better. Okay. Victoria zipped her suitcase closed. This doesn't change anything. What we talked about, we're still doing this. I know. I just need to make sure you know, because I'm getting in my car and driving away, and it's going to feel like 7 years ago all over again. But it's not. This time, I'm coming back. Lucas crossed the room and pulled her into a kiss. She melted into him, hands fisting in his shirt. You better, he said when they broke apart. I will. I promise. Downstairs, everyone was gathered to say goodbye. Margaret, still wrapped in blankets but looking stronger. Richard with his arm around her. Eleanor with a worried expression that she was trying to hide. Mia sleepy-eyed and confused about why Victoria was leaving so early. Do you have to go? Mia asked. Victoria crouched down to her level. I do, sweetie. I have work stuff. But you'll come back, right? Victoria glanced at Lucas. He nodded slightly. Yeah, Victoria said. I'll come back. Mia hugged her. Victoria held on for a long moment, then stood. "Drive safe," Eleanor said, pulling her daughter into an embrace. "And call me when you get home." "I will, Mom." Victoria shook hands with Richard, hugged Margaret carefully, then turned to Lucas. "Walk me out?" "Of course." They stepped out into the cold morning air. Victoria's car was already warming up, exhaust puffing white clouds. The road was clear now, just wet pavement and piles of snow on either side. "So this is it," Victoria said. "For now. I'll call you tonight, after my meetings. I'll be waiting." She started to get in the car, then stopped, turned back. "Lucas, I meant what I said. I'm terrified, but I'm all in. Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, I'm not running. Neither am I." "Good." She kissed him one more time, quick and fierce, then got in the car. Lucas stood there and watched her drive away. Watched until the car disappeared around a curve and he couldn't see it anymore. Then he went back inside to face whatever came next. The rest of the day was a blur of packing and cleaning and getting ready to leave. Margaret was moving slowly but steadily. Richard fussed over her like she might break. Eleanor helped where she could, though she kept shooting Lucas looks he couldn't quite interpret. By early afternoon, they were ready to go. 2 cars, Richard and Margaret in one, Lucas and Mia in the other. Eleanor was staying behind an extra day to make sure the cabin was properly closed up. "Thank you for everything," Lucas said to her before they left. "For helping my parents. For being here." Eleanor studied him. "Take care of my daughter, Lucas. She acts tough, but she's fragile. More than she'd ever admit." "I know. And don't make promises you can't keep. If you're not sure about this, if you think there's any chance you'll walk away again, do it now, before she gets in any deeper." "I'm sure." "Are you? Because it's going to get hard. The distance, the complications, Mia, it's going to test you in ways you can't imagine." "I know that too, and I'm still sure." Eleanor nodded slowly. "All right then. I hope you prove me wrong. I hope you two make it." "You don't think we will?" "I think love isn't always enough. Sometimes you need compatibility, timing, circumstances to align, and I'm not sure they do for you two." "Then we'll make them align." Eleanor smiled sadly. "You sound just like her, both of you so determined to force the universe to bend to your will. Is that a bad thing?" "I don't know yet." The drive home was long and quiet. Mia fell asleep in the back seat within the first hour. Lucas drove on autopilot, his mind miles away. He kept replaying the weekend in his head. The storm, the forced proximity, the way everything had unraveled and come back together in the span of 3 days. It felt surreal, like something from a movie, not his actual life. His phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. Made it home, stuck in traffic but safe. Lucas smiled, typed back, "Good. Call me later?" Counting on it, such a small thing. A text exchange that meant nothing and everything at the same time. He was still smiling when Mia woke up. "Dad? Yeah, kiddo? Are you happy?" The question caught him off guard. "What makes you ask that?" "You're smiling. You don't smile that much usually." Out of the mouths of children. "Yeah," Lucas said. "I think I'm happy." "Good. You should be happy more." "I'll work on that." They got home just as the sun was setting. Lucas carried a sleeping Mia inside, tucked her into her own bed, then collapsed on the couch. His phone rang almost immediately. Victoria. "Hey," he answered. "Hey yourself." Her voice was warm. "Long day." "The longest. You?" "Same. 3 meetings back to back, all of them painful. But I'm home now." "How does it feel, being back?" Victoria was quiet for a moment. "Empty. My apartment is beautiful and expensive and completely soulless. I never noticed before." "Maybe you need to redecorate." "Maybe I need to not live alone." Lucas's heart skipped. Are you saying?" "I don't know what I'm saying. I'm exhausted and emotional and probably not thinking clearly." "That's okay. We don't have to figure everything out tonight." "I know. But Lucas, I need you to understand something. I can't do halfway. I can't do casual. If we're doing this, I need to know you're serious. That this isn't just nostalgia or loneliness or some romantic idea of what we used to be." "It's not." "How do you know?" "Because I've had 7 years to get over you. And I couldn't, not even a little bit. That's not nostalgia, Victoria. That's the real thing. He heard her breath hitch. What do we do now? We take it one day at a time. We talk. We visit. We build something new. I'm free next weekend, Victoria said suddenly. I could fly to Denver, meet Mia properly, see your life. Lucas's pulse quickened. Are you sure? That's fast? I've waited 7 years. That's not fast. That's overdue. Okay. Yeah. Come to Denver. They talked for another hour. About nothing and everything. Work and Mia and the stupid things they'd watched on TV. The kind of conversation people have when they're just happy to hear each other's voice. When they finally hung up, Lucas sat in the dark living room and let himself believe for the first time in years that maybe this could actually work. The week that followed was chaos. Lucas tried to focus on work, on Mia, on normal life, but his mind kept drifting. Victoria called every night. They texted throughout the day. Little things, photos of her morning coffee, updates on his truck repairs, random thoughts that didn't matter but somehow did. He told Mia that Victoria might visit, kept it casual, just said she was an old friend passing through town. The pretty lady from the cabin? Mia asked. Yeah, that's her. Cool. Can she come to my soccer game? Lucas laughed. We'll see, kiddo. But inside he was terrified. What if Victoria came and realized this wasn't what she wanted? What if she saw his small apartment, his ordinary life, and decided she'd made a mistake? What if Mia didn't like her? That fear was the worst one, because Mia's opinion mattered. If his daughter didn't approve, if she felt threatened or uncomfortable, Lucas would have to make an impossible choice. He pushed the thoughts away. One step at a time. Friday came. Victoria's flight landed at 6. Lucas picked her up at the airport, leaving Mia with a neighbor for the evening. When Victoria walked out of arrivals, pulling a small suitcase and looking exhausted but beautiful, something settled in Lucas's chest. This was real. She was here. Hey, she said, smiling. Hey. He pulled her into a hug right there in the middle of the airport. She held on tight. I missed you, she murmured against his shoulder. It's been a week. Still missed you. They drove to his apartment. Victoria was quiet, taking in the neighborhood, the building, everything. It's not much, Lucas said, suddenly self-conscious. 2-bedroom, 1 bath. But it's close to Mia's school and my work, so it's perfect, Victoria interrupted. Stop apologizing. I'm not apologizing.
Yes, you are. You're doing that thing where you downplay everything about your life because you think it doesn't measure up to mine. Well, it doesn't. Victoria grabbed his hand. My penthouse has floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the bay. It's also the loneliest place I've ever lived. She gestured to the modest apartment building. This is a home. There's a difference. Lucas showed her around. The living room with Mia's toys scattered everywhere. The kitchen that was too small but functional. Mia's bedroom decorated in purple and covered in drawings. His own room, simple and plain. Where will I sleep? Victoria asked. I can take the couch. You can have my bed. Or we could share, like at the cabin. Lucas's mouth went dry. Yeah, okay, we could do that. Victoria smiled. Don't look so terrified. I'm not proposing we jump into anything. I just want to be close to you. They ordered takeout and ate on the couch, watching a movie neither of them paid attention to. Victoria curled against his side, her head on his shoulder. It felt natural, easy. I'm meeting Mia tomorrow, Victoria said during a quiet moment. Yeah. What if she doesn't like me? She'll love you. You can't know that.
Lucas turned to look at her. She already does. She asked if you could come to her soccer game. Victoria's eyes widened. She did? Yep. You made an impression. I was barely around her. That's all it took. Victoria was quiet. I don't know how to do this, Lucas. The kid thing. I don't have experience with children. Neither did I before Mia. You just figure it out as you go. What if I screw it up? Then you apologize and do better next time. That's parenting. He squeezed her hand. You'll be fine. Just be yourself. My regular self or my CEO self? Definitely not the CEO self. Mia's 7. She doesn't care about your quarterly earnings. Victoria laughed. Fair enough. They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, the TV still playing softly in the background. Lucas woke up around midnight and carried Victoria to bed. She mumbled something incoherent but didn't wake up. He lay beside her, watching her sleep, and thought about how strange life was. A week ago, they were strangers pretending the past didn't exist. Now she was here, in his bed, in his life. And tomorrow, she'd meet his daughter. Everything was about to change. The next morning, Lucas woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of movement in the kitchen. He found Victoria standing at the stove, attempting to make pancakes. "You cook?" he asked, surprised. "I'm learning. YouTube is very educational." She flipped a pancake. It landed perfectly. "See? I'm basically a chef." Huh? And how many tries did that take?" "The first 6 are in the trash. We don't talk about those." Lucas laughed and pulled her in for a kiss. She tasted like coffee and morning and possibility. "What time are you getting Mia?" Victoria asked. 10 gives us about an hour." "I'm nervous." "Don't be. She's going to love you." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." At exactly 10, Lucas walked next door to pick up Mia. His neighbor, Mrs. Chen, smiled knowingly when she answered. "Special friend visiting?" she asked. "Something like that." "Good. You deserve happiness, Lucas. Don't let it slip away." He brought Mia back to the apartment. She burst through the door, full of energy. "Dad, can we go to the park? Mrs. Chen said it's supposed to be really nice today, and—" She stopped short. "Oh. Hi, Victoria." Victoria stood up from the couch, looking more uncertain than Lucas had ever seen her. "Hi, Mia. It's good to see you again." "You came to visit," Mia beamed. "Dad said you might. Did you come for my soccer game? It's at 2. Victoria glanced at Lucas. He nodded. "I'd love to come to your soccer game," Victoria said. "Cool, I'm a midfielder. That means I run a lot. Do you like soccer?" "I don't know much about it, honestly, but I'd like to learn. I can teach you. Come on, I'll show you my stuff." And just like that, Mia grabbed Victoria's hand and dragged her toward the bedroom. Lucas watched them go, his heart in his throat. 20 minutes later, Victoria emerged looking slightly overwhelmed. "She has strong opinions about shin guards," Victoria said. "She has strong opinions about everything." "I noticed." Victoria smiled. "She's amazing, Lucas, really. You did good." "Thanks." They spent the rest of the morning together. Mia showed Victoria her drawings, her books, her favorite stuffed animals. Victoria listened attentively, asked questions, engaged like Mia was the most interesting person she'd ever met. And maybe, in that moment, she was. At 2, they headed to the soccer field. Mia ran off to join her team. Lucas and Victoria sat on the bleachers watching. "She's fast," Victoria observed. "Yeah, gets that from her mother, apparently. I was never athletic." They watched in comfortable silence. Mia scored a goal. Victoria jumped up and cheered. Mia looked over and waved, grinning. "She's showing off for you," Lucas said. "Good. Let her." After the game, Mia ran over, sweaty and triumphant. Did you see? Did you see my goal?" "I saw," Victoria high-fived her. "That was incredible. Thanks." "Hey, are you staying for dinner? Dad's making spaghetti. It's the only thing he knows how to cook that's actually good." Victoria laughed. "I would love to stay for dinner." That night, while Mia was getting ready for bed, Victoria helped Lucas clean up the kitchen. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For being amazing with her. For not trying too hard or not hard enough. For just being you." Victoria set down the dish she was washing. "I meant what I said at the cabin. I'm all in, Lucas. That includes Mia. She's part of you, which means she's part of this." "It's only been a week. You don't have to—" "I know I don't have to. I want to." She turned to face him fully. "I'm not saying I'm ready to be her mother or anything, but I can be someone who cares about her, someone who shows up. Is that okay?" "More than okay." Mia appeared in the doorway, pajamas on, teeth brushed. "Victoria, will you read me a bedtime story?" Victoria looked at Lucas. He nodded. "Sure," Victoria said. "Lead the way." Lucas listened from the hallway as Victoria read The Cat in the Hat in different voices, making Mia giggle. He heard his daughter ask if Victoria was his girlfriend, heard Victoria pause, then say, "Would that be okay with you?" "Yeah," Mia said simply. "You're nice, and you make my dad smile. He should smile more." Lucas had to walk away before they heard him getting emotional. When Victoria emerged 20 minutes later, Mia was asleep. "She's out. Victoria whispered. They moved to the living room, sat close on the couch. She asked if I was your girlfriend, Victoria said. I heard. I didn't know what to say. What did you say? That I hope to be, if her dad and I can figure things out. Lucas took her hand. We'll figure it out. Promise? Promise. Victoria leaned her head on his shoulder. I have to fly back tomorrow afternoon. I know, but I'll come back. In 2 weeks. And maybe you and Mia can come to San Francisco the weekend after that. I want to show you my city, my life. We'd like that. They sat there in the quiet apartment, holding each other, and for the first time in 7 years, Lucas let himself believe in the future. Not a perfect future, not an easy one, but one worth fighting for. And that was enough. The next 2 months were harder than either of them had anticipated. Victoria came to Denver twice more. Lucas and Mia flew to San Francisco once. They video called every night, texted constantly, tried to build a relationship across 800 miles of distance. But reality was grinding them down in ways the romantic reunion at the cabin hadn't prepared them for. The first real fight happened on a Tuesday night in March. Victoria had promised to call at 8. Lucas waited. 8:15, 8:30, 9 o'clock. No call. He texted. No response. When she finally called at 9:40, he was furious. Do you have any idea how worried I was? He said before she could even say hello. I'm sorry. The meeting ran late and I couldn't get away. You couldn't text for an hour and a half? My phone was in my bag. I didn't hear it. That's not good enough, Victoria. I have a life here. Responsibilities. I can't just sit around waiting for you to remember I exist. Her voice went cold. Excuse me? I work 60-hour weeks running a company. I'm doing everything I can to make time for this relationship. Don't you dare accuse me of not caring. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm telling you how it feels when you disappear for hours with no explanation. And I'm telling you that sometimes my job requires me to be unreachable. That's reality. You're going to have to accept that. Accept what? That I'm always going to come second to your company? You're being unfair. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like I'm the only one actually trying here. Victoria's laugh was bitter. Oh, that's rich. I've flown to Denver 3 times in 2 months. I've rearranged my entire schedule to make this work. What have you done? Had me visit your convenient nearby life. I have a daughter. I can't just leave her whenever I want. I know that. I'm not asking you to, but don't act like you're the only one making sacrifices. They went around in circles for 20 minutes, both saying things they didn't mean, both too angry and hurt to back down. Finally, Victoria said she had to go. The line went dead. Lucas sat there, phone in hand, feeling like he'd just taken a punch to the gut. The silence lasted 3 days. 3 days of no calls, no texts, nothing. Lucas told himself he didn't care, that maybe this was for the best, that they'd been fooling themselves, thinking this could work. But he cared. He cared so much it physically hurt. On day 4, Victoria showed up at his door. She looked terrible, hair pulled back messily, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie instead of her usual polished outfits. Her eyes were red. Can I come in? She asked quietly. Lucas stepped aside. They sat on the couch, not touching. The space between them felt enormous. I'm sorry, Victoria said, for what I said, for disappearing, for all of it. I'm sorry too, I was being unreasonable. You weren't. You were right. I did disappear, and I have been putting work first. She twisted her hands together. I'm not good at this, Lucas. Relationships, vulnerability, letting someone matter more than my career. I don't know how. So we figure it out together. What if we can't? What if we just keep hurting each other until there's nothing left? Lucas took her hand. Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared I'm going to lose you again. And this time it'll be because I wasn't enough. Not because of circumstances or our parents or anything external, just because I failed. You're not failing, aren't I? I missed our call because I lost track of time in a meeting. I prioritize conference calls over you. I keep choosing my company because that's what you've trained yourself to do for 7 years. It's muscle memory. But you can build new habits. We both can. Victoria wiped her eyes. I want this to work so badly, but I don't know how to be what you need. What I need is you, not some perfect version, just you. Messy, complicated, workaholic you. She laughed through her tears. That's a low bar. It's the only bar that matters. They held each other for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, something had shifted. The fight had cracked them open, but instead of breaking, they'd found a way through. I'm going to do better, Victoria said. I'm going to set boundaries at work, make time, be present. And I'm going to stop expecting you to be available every second, give you space to be who you are. We're going to screw this up again, Victoria said. Multiple times, probably.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out. That's what people do. She kissed him, soft and slow and full of promise. I love you, she whispered. Lucas's breath caught. She'd never said it, not since they got back together. He'd been waiting, hoping, but giving her space to get there on her own time. I love you too, he said. I never stopped.
The weeks that followed were better. Not perfect, but better. They talked more honestly, fought less destructively, learned each other's rhythms and boundaries. Victoria started blocking out time on her calendar specifically for calls with Lucas. Lucas started being more flexible when her schedule changed unexpectedly. They were building something, slowly, carefully. But the distance was still killing them.
I hate this, Victoria said one night during their call. I hate that I can't just drive over and see you, that every visit requires plane tickets and planning and coordination. I know. Something has to change, Lucas. This isn't sustainable long term. What are you saying? Victoria was quiet for a moment, then, I'm saying one of us needs to move, and I think it should be me. Lucas sat up straight. What? I've been thinking about it for weeks. My company has offices in Denver, smaller than San Francisco, but functional. I could relocate, work remotely more, build a life there. Victoria, you can't just uproot your entire life. Why not? What's keeping me in San Francisco? An empty apartment? A job that makes me miserable? I have money, Lucas. More than I could ever spend. I don't need to work 80 hours a week. I choose to because I didn't have anything else. And now you do? Yeah, I have you and Mia, and the possibility of something real. Lucas's heart was pounding. This is huge. You can't make this decision lightly. I'm not. I've been thinking about it constantly, talking to my board, my team. I can make it work. I want to make it work. What about your mother? She'll be fine. She's happy with your father. They'll visit. We'll visit them. It's not like I'm moving to another planet. Lucas couldn't believe what he was hearing. When would this happen?
I'd need a few months to transition, get the Denver office up to speed, but by summer, I could be there. Permanently. Permanently, Lucas echoed. If you want me to be. Did he want that? Did he want Victoria Hale moving to Denver, inserting herself into his daily life, becoming a constant presence instead of a weekend visitor? Yes. The answer was yes with every fiber of his being. I want that, he said, more than anything. Victoria's smile was audible through the phone. Then it's happening. I'm coming home, Lucas told Mia the next day. Sat her down after breakfast and explained as simply as he could. Victoria is going to move to Denver. She's going to be around a lot more. Mia looked up from her cereal. Like, live here? Not in this apartment. She'll get her own place. But yes, she'll be in Denver. Is that okay with you? Mia thought about it seriously. Will she come to my soccer games? Probably, if you want her to. And will she still read me stories? I think she'd like that. Then it's okay. Mia went back to her cereal like they'd just discussed what to have for lunch, not a major life change. Lucas laughed. That's it? Just okay? Yeah. Victoria's nice, and you're happy when she's around, so it's good. Sometimes kids made things so simple. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Victoria flew back and forth between San Francisco and Denver constantly. Lucas watched her navigate boardrooms via video call from his kitchen table, watched her slowly extricate herself from the day-to-day operations of her company without abandoning it entirely. She found an apartment 10 minutes from Lucas's place. Modern, but not ostentatious. Big enough for her to work from home, but small enough to feel intimate. I'm downsizing, she explained while showing him photos. I don't need 3,000 square feet and a view of the bay. I need a home. In early June, she moved. Richard and Margaret helped, along with Eleanor. It was strange seeing their parents work together to carry boxes and assemble furniture. Strange, but good. I can't believe this is happening, Eleanor said to Lucas while they were unpacking kitchen stuff. My daughter, the billionaire CEO, moving to Denver for a man.
She's not moving for me. She's moving for herself. Don't be modest. She's doing this because she loves you. And I love her. Eleanor smiled. I know. I see it. You're good for each other. She paused. I'm sorry I doubted you. Back at the cabin, I was trying to protect her. I get it. I do the same for Mia. Speaking of Mia, how's she handling all this? Better than I am, honestly. She treats Victoria like it's the most natural thing in the world that this woman is suddenly in our lives all the time. Maybe it is natural. Maybe you two were always meant to find your way back to each other. Lucas didn't believe in fate or destiny, but he believed in choices, and they'd chosen each other, finally, completely. The first real test came in August. Mia's mother showed up. Lucas got a call on a Thursday afternoon. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Lucas? It's Amanda. His blood went cold. Amanda. Mia's biological mother, the woman who'd signed away custody 7 years ago and disappeared. What do you want? I'm in Denver. I want to see her. Mia. Absolutely not. Lucas, please. I know I don't have any rights. I gave those up. But I'm asking, one human to another, let me see my daughter. She's not your daughter. She stopped being your daughter the day you walked away. I know. I don't deserve... Her voice cracked. I made a mistake, Lucas. A huge mistake. And I've regretted it every day for 7 years. I'm not asking to be her mother. I just want to see her once. Please. Lucas hung up. He was shaking. Victoria found him sitting on the couch, head in his hands. What happened? He told her. Everything. The call, the request, the rage burning in his chest. Victoria sat beside him. What are you going to do? Nothing. She has no legal rights. She can't force me to let her see Mia. But she's asking. That's different. She gave up the right to ask when she signed those papers. Lucas, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying maybe consider why she's asking now. I don't care why. Victoria took his hand. Yes, you do. You care because somewhere in your head, you're wondering if Mia deserves to know where she came from, who her biological mother is. She knows. I've never hidden it from her. I told her the truth in age-appropriate ways. She knows her mom wasn't ready to be a parent, that I chose to be one. Knowing and meeting are different things. Lucas looked at her. You think I should let Amanda see her? I think you should think about what's best for Mia, not what's easiest for you. He hated that she was right. That night, after Mia was asleep, Lucas called Amanda back. You get 1 hour, he said, supervised, in a public place. And if Mia gets upset or uncomfortable, it's over. Thank you, Amanda whispered. Thank you so much. They met at a park on Saturday morning. Lucas brought Mia, telling her only that someone wanted to meet her. Victoria came too, for moral support. Amanda was waiting on a bench. She looked older than Lucas remembered, tired, nervous. When she saw Mia, she started crying. Hi, she said softly. You're so big. Mia looked at Lucas. He nodded. This is Amanda. She knew you when you were a baby. Oh. Mia studied her. Are you my mom? My real mom? Amanda flinched. I'm the woman who gave birth to you, but your real mom? No, your dad is your real parent. I wanted to see you, to know you're okay. Mia seemed to process this. I'm okay. I have my dad and Victoria and my grandparents. I have lots of people. That's good. That's really good. They sat awkwardly for a few minutes. Amanda asked about school, about soccer, about Mia's favorite things. Mia answered politely, but without much warmth. She didn't understand who this woman was or why she mattered. After 30 minutes, Mia tugged Lucas's sleeve. Can we go? I'm bored. Lucas looked at Amanda. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you for letting me see her, Amanda said. She's beautiful. You did an amazing job. Yeah, I did. They walked away. Mia skipped ahead, already moving on. Lucas glanced back once, Amanda was still sitting there, crying quietly on the bench. Victoria squeezed his hand. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. That was brave. What you did. Or stupid. No, brave. You put Mia first, even when it hurt. Lucas pulled her close. I'm learning. From you. From me?
You moved across the country, left everything you knew, because you decided that scary was better than empty. That's brave. Victoria smiled. We're both idiots then. Brave idiots. The best kind. September brought new challenges. Victoria's company hit a rough patch. Stock prices dropped. Investors panicked. She spent 2 weeks flying back and forth to San Francisco, putting out fires, reassuring her board. I might have to go back, she told Lucas one night. Not permanently, but for a few months, until we stabilize. Then go. Just like that? Just like that. Your company needs you. I'm not going to ask you to choose between your career and me. What if I want you to ask? What if I need you to fight for me? Lucas cupped her face. I don't need to fight for you. You're already mine, and I'm already yours. A few months apart doesn't change that. You're sure? I'm sure. Go save your company. I'll be here when you get back. Victoria left the next week. Lucas tried not to let it feel like 7 years ago. Tried not to spiral into old fears and insecurities, but it was hard, especially when the weeks stretched into a month, then 2. Mia noticed. Is Victoria coming back? Yes. When? Soon. But you don't know for sure, huh? Lucas sighed. No, kiddo, I don't know for sure. That's scary. Yeah, it is. Mia climbed into his lap. But you love her, so she'll come back. Because people who love each other always come back. Lucas held his daughter and hoped she was right. Victoria came back on a Friday in late October. No warning, no dramatic airport reunion, just a knock on the door. Lucas opened it. She was standing there with her suitcase, looking exhausted but smiling. I'm done, she said. Company's stable. I hired a new COO to handle day-to-day operations. I'm officially semi-retired. Semi-retired at 30? I'm keeping my CEO title and my board seat, but I'm delegating everything else. My life is here now. With you. Lucas pulled her inside and kissed her like she might disappear again if he didn't hold on tight enough. I missed you, he said. I missed you too, every single day. Mia appeared in the hallway. Victoria! She ran over. Victoria scooped her up, hugging her tight. Did you bring me a present? Mia asked. Mia, Lucas started. It's okay, Victoria laughed. I did, actually. She pulled a small box from her bag. Open it. Mia tore into it. Inside was a bracelet with 3 charms, a soccer ball, a book, and a heart. The soccer ball is because you're amazing at the game, Victoria explained. The book is because you're the smartest kid I know, and the heart is because you have the biggest one. Mia threw her arms around Victoria's neck. Thank you! I love it! Over Mia's shoulder, Victoria caught Lucas's eye. He mouthed, I love you. She mouthed back, I love you too. That night, after Mia was asleep, they talked. I want more, Victoria said. More than weekend visits and separate apartments. I want a life with you, a real one. What are you saying? I'm saying I want us to live together. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to help Mia with homework and fight with you about whose turn it is to do dishes. I want all the mundane, boring, beautiful parts of building a life together. Lucas's heart was pounding. That's a big step. I know, and I know we haven't been back together that long, but Lucas, I wasted 7 years. I'm not wasting another day. What about Mia? We'd need to make sure she's comfortable. So we ask her. We include her in the decision, but I think she'll be okay with it. She already acts like I'm part of the family. Lucas thought about it, about what it would mean. Victoria's things mixed with his. Her presence not as a visitor, but as a permanent fixture. Shared responsibilities, shared everything. It terrified him. It also felt absolutely right. Okay, he said. Okay? Yeah, let's do it. Let's build a life together. Victoria kissed him. I'm going to need a bigger apartment. Your place is tiny. We'll get a house, something with a yard for Mia. Room for all of us. A house? Victoria smiled. I've never owned a house. Neither have I. We'll figure it out together.
They told Mia the next morning over pancakes. Victoria and I are thinking about getting a house together. All three of us. Would you like that? Mia's eyes went wide. Like a real house with a yard?
Yep, and you'd get your own room. We'd pick it out together. Can I get a dog? Victoria laughed. Absolutely not. Maybe a dog, Lucas said, shooting Victoria a look. We'll discuss the dog, Victoria amended. Mia bounced in her seat. This is the best day ever. They started house hunting the following week. Looked at dozens of places. Too small, too big, wrong neighborhood, terrible schools. Finally, they found it. A 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. Decent yard, good school district, room to grow. This is it, Victoria said, standing in the empty living room. This is our home. Lucas could see it. Furniture in the corners. Mia's toys scattered around. Pictures on the walls. A life built from scratch. They put in an offer that day. It was accepted by the end of the week. Moving day came in early December. Friends and family helped. Richard and Margaret, Eleanor, even some of Lucas's co-workers. Everyone wanted to be part of this new beginning. Mia ran through the empty rooms, claiming the biggest bedroom for herself. Victoria unpacked kitchen boxes, organizing things with military precision. Lucas assembled furniture and tried not to have a panic attack about this massive, wonderful, terrifying change. That night, after everyone left and Mia was asleep in her new room, Lucas and Victoria sat on the floor of their new living room, surrounded by boxes. We did it, Victoria said. We really did. I never thought I'd be here. In Denver. In a house. With you. Life's weird like that. Victoria leaned against him. I'm happy. Actually, genuinely happy. I didn't think that was possible anymore. Lucas kissed the top of her head. Me neither. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lucas said, I want to ask you something, but I don't want you to feel pressured. Victoria sat up. Okay. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Her eyes went wide. Lucas, let me say this before I lose my nerve. He opened the box. A simple ring, nothing ostentatious, just a single diamond on a silver band. 7 years ago, I let you go because I thought it was the right thing to do. Turned out it was the stupidest decision of my life. I'm not making that mistake again. Lucas, I know we've only been back together for 8 months. I know this is fast, but I also know I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're mine. Officially. Completely. He took a breath. Victoria Hale, will you marry me? Victoria was crying. You're serious. Completely serious. We fight. We're both stubborn. We have baggage and complications and a 7-year-old who's going to have opinions about this. Is that a no? No, it's not a no, you idiot. She wiped her eyes. It's a yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Lucas slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. They kissed there on the floor of their new house, surrounded by boxes and possibilities. Should we tell Mia? Victoria asked. In the morning. Let's just have this moment first. Okay. She looked at the ring. I can't believe this is real. Believe it. They stayed up late, talking about the future, about wedding plans and whether they wanted more kids and where they'd go on their honeymoon. All the mundane, beautiful details of a shared life. When they finally went to bed, Lucas lay there next to Victoria and thought about everything that had led to this moment. The heartbreak, the separation, the years of loneliness, the storm that brought them back together. All of it had been necessary. All of it had shaped them into the people they needed to be to make this work. The next morning, they told Mia over breakfast. Victoria and I have something to tell you. Mia looked up from her cereal. What? We're getting married. Mia blinked, then, duh, Lucas laughed. Duh. Yeah, you're always kissing and being gross. I figured you'd get married eventually. Victoria was trying not to laugh. And you're okay with that? Yeah, does this mean I can call you Mom? Victoria's breath caught. She looked at Lucas. He nodded. If you want to, Victoria said carefully. But only if you want to. There's no pressure. Mia thought about it. Can I call you Victoria Mom, so I know the difference? You can call me whatever feels right to you. Okay? Victoria Mom it is. Mia went back to her cereal like they'd just discussed the weather.
Lucas and Victoria looked at each other across the table and burst out laughing. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Mia was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Richard and Eleanor sat together in the front row holding hands. When Lucas saw Victoria walking down the aisle, he felt something settle in his chest. This was right. This was home. They wrote their own vows. Lucas went first. 7 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I let fear and doubt convince me that loving you wasn't worth the risk. I was wrong. Loving you is the easiest, hardest, best thing I've ever done. And I promise to keep choosing you every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Victoria was crying before she even started her own vows. I spent 7 years building walls, convincing myself I didn't need anyone, that success and independence were enough. But they weren't. I was lonely and empty and lying to myself. And then a snowstorm trapped us in a cabin together, and all those walls came crashing down. She smiled through her tears. You showed me that being vulnerable isn't weakness, that asking for help isn't failure, that love is worth risking everything for. I love you, Lucas Hayes, and I promise to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep fighting for us. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. When the officiant pronounced them married, Lucas kissed his wife like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The reception was loud and joyful. Mia danced with everyone. Richard and Margaret slow danced to their old wedding song. Eleanor gave a toast that had everyone laughing and crying. At the end of the night, Lucas, Victoria, and Mia drove home to their house. Mia fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the excitement. Lucas carried her inside while Victoria unlocked the door. They put Mia to bed together, tucking her in carefully. Best day ever, Mia mumbled, already half asleep. Yeah, kiddo, Lucas whispered. Best day ever. Downstairs, Lucas and Victoria collapsed on the couch. We did it, Victoria said. We really did. No more long distance, no more uncertainty, just us. Just us, Lucas agreed. Victoria curled against him. I love you. I love you too. They sat there in the quiet house, holding each other, and Lucas thought about how far they'd come. From heartbroken college kids to strangers to this. A family, a real messy, imperfect family. It hadn't been easy. They'd fought and doubted and almost given up more times than he could count. But they'd kept showing up, kept trying, kept believing that love was worth the risk. And it was. It absolutely was. 3 years later, they were standing in the same house, watching Mia blow out candles on her 10th birthday cake. Friends from school filled the yard. Victoria was pregnant, 6 months along with their first child together. Lucas had his arm around her, his hand resting on her growing belly. Happy? Victoria asked. Ridiculously happy. Good, because this baby is going to make our lives even more chaotic. I can't wait. Mia ran over, chocolate cake smeared on her face. Dad, can we open presents now? Sure, sweetheart. She hugged him tight, then hugged Victoria. Thanks for the best party ever, Victoria, Mom. Anytime, kiddo. Mia ran off to round up her friends. Lucas and Victoria watched her go. She's growing up so fast, Victoria said. I know, soon she won't need us at all. Oh, she'll always need us, just in different ways. Victoria leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you. For what? For not giving up on us, for fighting for this, for showing me what a real family looks like. Lucas kissed her forehead. Thank you for coming back, for choosing this life, for being brave enough to try. We're both brave, Victoria said. Or maybe just stubborn. Probably stubborn. They laughed, then turned their attention back to the party, to their daughter, their friends, their life. It wasn't perfect. They still fought sometimes, still struggled with balance and boundaries and all the normal complications of marriage and parenting. But they faced it together, and that made all the difference, because in the end, that's what love was. Not the absence of struggle, but the decision to keep choosing each other anyway, to keep showing up, to keep believing that together was better than alone. Lucas had learned that the hard way, had spent 7 years paying for one moment of cowardice, but he'd also learned that it's never too late to make a different choice, to be brave, to risk everything for the chance at something real. And standing there in his backyard, surrounded by the family he'd built,
He knew with absolute certainty that he'd made the right choice. The greatest risk wasn't loving her again. It was living the rest of his life wondering what if, and he'd never have to wonder again.